Welcome to Loving Life's Journey with your host, Linda Wilson. Loving Life's Journey is a heartwarming show that explores the simple pleasures and profound moments that make life worth living. Linda will share stories of hope, resilience, and the power of human connection, celebrating the joys that bind us together. Loving Life's Journey is your invitation to revel in the beauty of everyday miracles and the love that surrounds us all. So now, please welcome the host of Loving Life's Journey, Linda Wilson.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Loving Life's Journey. I'm Linda Wilson, and I'm so glad you're here today. I cannot believe it's October 1st. Oh my gosh, where did the year go? Anybody else feel like that? I know I do. Um, Topic today is finding your tribe. And first, what I wanted to do was kind of explain what that means. Um, Using the word tribe, I mean, find your group, find your people. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be one group of people. Um, Finding your people means finding people that you can learn from, that you're comfortable with, but will help push you to newer and better things. Um, People that trigger your thinking, trigger your actions, and a place where you can have fun and feel like you belong, but not be so comfortable that there's no growth involved. And how that can look is, I'm blessed to have several groups that I'm in, and they all serve different purposes. But I have a group that I follow that it's the Photographers of Colorado, and I love going in and seeing the amazing photos that people take around the state of Colorado. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places to live, especially this time of year. The fall colors are in full gold. And as a former photographer, I find that an amazing group. I'd love to go in and not just see what they've taken pictures of, but how they've taken pictures, because I'm always looking to learn and grow, not just in how I might use my camera, but how I use my eyes and my perspective, because photography is all about perspective. Um, there's a group I'm in that supports my personal and professional growth and allows me to be a support to others. And I just love that group. It's a huge group, it's an international group. And I've been in that group for 5 years. I got started during COVID, and I didn't know I wanted or needed a group like that. But I'm proud to say that I've been a very big part of that group for 5.5 years. And that group of people has been instrumental in my personal growth, my professional growth, and just community. People that know who I am, care who I am, and care about me, and I get to do the same for them. So when you're looking to maybe find your tribe, your group, your place where you want to feel like you belong, start with maybe writing down what's important to you, what are you looking for. And one of the things I was doing was I was looking for growth in my business. I was looking for growth in my mindset. I was looking for one of the other groups that I joined, that photography group. I was just looking for other people's perspective and eye on things in our state as far as the photos that they took. Um, there are some Facebook groups that I'm in that I've joined because I want to learn from other people what they think about not necessarily politics, but what they think is going on in our communities, what needs to be done, how we can help serve. Because those are the kind of groups that feed me. And they're also the kind of groups that my expertise allows me to be of service to them. So that's kind of what looking for your tribe or your group can look like. So start with, what are some of your core values? What's an area that you want to expand into? And look for groups like that. And there are tons of places you can find groups like that. You can go to Meetup, you can go out to Facebook, and look for groups, both personal and professional. LinkedIn, I believe you can find groups in there. Um, I'm not overly familiar with Instagram, but you might be able to find some groups of people to connect with in there. And those are online places, but you can also find places to meet in person. There's groups like Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, Toastmasters. I belong to a leads group at the chamber, and it's not, it's a leads group, but our primary focus is getting to know each other and finding out how we can help each other best, not just in growing business, but I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, but if I needed someone to, if I need a plumber, someone in the leads group probably knows the plumber. So I can get help in areas not just related to my business. I get help in areas related to personal parts of my life. Sometimes I'm just looking for fun things to do, fun activities for me and my friends to do. Um, there's a group of ladies here in the Denver metro area. A friend of mine started the group, and they like to get together for happy hour. They like to get together to do crafting things, and they get together and they just, it's fun. There's no drama allowed. There's no, there's certain, you're not going to go in and talk politics and all that kind of stuff. There's a place and time for that, but not in that group. And you get to sit down, meet new ladies, and participate in a craft if you want, or just sit and talk and get to know everybody. And a lot of times they'll do happy hour and get a couple of drinks and have something to eat and just get to know the ladies in the community. And I think that's something that we miss a lot now. Uh, COVID made things very difficult for us to be together and feel like we were together. And as we came out of COVID, I think people thought we would fall right back into things how they were. Well, it didn't really work out that way because COVID changed so many things at a structural level. And I was talking with a couple of young ladies yesterday, and they were talking about how in their age group, they were, I would say, probably early to mid 20s, out of college a couple of years, and that people were so immersed on being on their phones and on their computers to communicate. They said, we didn't grow up in a big town and we kind of miss that inner, face to face personal communication. And she said, it's kind of weird. It's like people our age don't know how to do that. And I said, well, COVID, if you guys were in, what age were you in COVID? And they said, oh, senior in high school. And then the first couple of, semesters of college, if not longer, everything was virtual. She said, we didn't really get to meet our classmates. We didn't get to interact with our classmates. And that's a very real thing. It's it's difficult. So if you're someone who needs that interpersonal face-to-face communication, look for groups and organizations that allow you to have that. Now, whether everything else they're doing is right for you, you'd have to look at that as well. But again, start with some of the things that are important to you and why you would want to group around that. I talked about the photography group that I'm in, and I tell you, I love the photos these people are posting now. I've been in Colorado 30 years, and I have not been able to go to all the beautiful places in this state yet. And so when people post photos of Mesa Verde or maroon bells, which I haven't had a chance to go up and see. They're stunning. And it reminds me that at max, 4 hours drive away are some of the most beautiful places to be. And I love the outdoors. It's one of the reasons I did photography, is it gave me a chance to be outside where I could connect with nature. Um, that's where I find my my faith, my spirit, and it was huge. And that became a huge thing for me when I was recovering from my illnesses. Not that I got to be able to go out and do that. I hadn't been able to do that for a number of years, but I could live vicariously through others while I was getting my life back in order. So I would start with, what's your values? What's important to you? What are you looking for in a community? There's churches, places of worship, whether it's your synagogue, your mosque, whatever your faith based is, if that's the way you want to go. There are groups of scientists, engineers, there are groups of photographers, there's painters, there's artists, there's writers, there's book clubs, reading, there's all sorts of ways that you can get in and around people who have the same interests that you are, but aren't exactly like you. And that's healthy. That's healthy. You want to get to know people on that personal level, because I believe that's where healing begins. And I know for me, after all of every time I had some kind of a health crisis or somebody in my family had a crisis, that was how I found my healing. Um, in fact, a good friend of mine, Susan Kildall, when my husband passed, she invited me to go stay with her because suddenly I was in this house all by myself and I was having trouble getting up in the morning, having trouble doing the things that needed to be done. And she said, if you just want to be around people, she said, come down and stay with me. And so her and her husband welcomed me into their home. And I went down there for a couple of weeks. And I was down there while I was trying to do things like get a hold of Social Security to find out what happens, notifying all the people I needed to notify that he was gone, and trying to do it without getting lost in the pity party that was descending on me. And Susan and her husband both work from home, so I wasn't in the house alone. And there was someone there if I needed to interact, or they gave me my space if I wanted to be alone. I cannot tell you how much that helped me and what that meant to me. And I don't get to hang out with Susan as much as I would like anymore, but I will never forget. I mean, after one of my surgeries and one of my illnesses, and I came home and I wasn't thriving. I had no appetite. I wasn't eating, and she and another friend came out to my house and kind of read me the riot act. It's like, you need to start eating. What do we need to do to get food in you? Where do we need to take you? How do we need to help? What can we do? So look around you. What are things that are important to you? And what are groups that might address that? Now there's more ways to find your tribe. So don't go away. We'll be back in a few.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're getting value out of the show today. If you are, could you give us a like, give us a follow, and give us a share? Spread the word. There's room for everyone. We've been talking about how to find your group, your tribe, your family. And one of the ways that you can do that is to look for groups around an interest that you have. So, like if you go to meetup.com or use your Meetup app on your phone, there are groups for just about everything out there. There are groups of people who love trains. There are artist groups, there's painter groups, there's drawing groups, there's craft group, there's people that knit, they have crochet groups, they have sports groups, they have groups that just meet and talk about different things. And by using that app, you can look at groups that might be of interest to you. You know, maybe you want to volunteer somewhere, and maybe you're new to the area and you don't know where to go to volunteer. Meetup will have those. I know here in the Denver area, we have so many places that are always looking for volunteers. And, there's the big ones like Salvation Army, the Denver Rescue Mission. There's lots of times Goodwill is looking, Habitat for Humanity is always looking for volunteers. But there's also ways that you can find smaller groups. Check with your local chamber. Even if you're not a member, you can call the chamber and say, I'm looking for places to volunteer. Can you direct me to some of your members that might need that? We have the Ronald McDonald House out here, and just about any hospital is probably looking for volunteers for either the gift shop or to do other things. And that'll give you that face-to-face community. We've got a place out here called Brent's Place where they work with families who have individuals getting bone marrow transplants. So they work with the individual and the family. They give them a safe, environmentally safe, sterile area to live where they won't be exposed to all the illness and elements out in public. And then the families can get together. There's support groups in there. If you are maybe going through a period of grief and you're not sure where to get some help with that, that's a kind of community, grief support groups. And I know just about every church or place of worship will have some kind of a grief group that you can check into. Most of the mortuaries and internment centers will have support groups. I happen to belong to a couple. I lost my parents, I lost a sibling, and I lost my husband. So there's support groups for all of that. Um, and it allows me to be in a place where people don't try to fix me. They understand what issues I may be having, and they're there just to listen and to allow me to unload about that and not worry that I'm boring family and friends. Now, my family and friends have never told me, just get over it. My family, I've got an amazing support network, and that's one of the things I want to do to give back is to be a support network for others. But those grief groups were huge for me because, every week you go in and sometimes you'd see the same people and sometimes you didn't. And it was okay because I didn't feel like I was saying the same thing to the same people over and over and over again. And sometimes hearing someone else's struggle and my response to that struggle would trigger ways for me to respond to my struggle better. There were people that would go and just want to know that they weren't alone and they wouldn't share their story, which is fine. Um, when you think about it, there are, you know, if you or someone you love is struggling through addiction, there are groups to help with that. Alcoholics Anonymous, Al Anon, all of those kind of groups. Those are tribes and groups for people wanting to get out of addiction and families of people struggling with addiction. And that's important as well. Um, I have not had addiction issues, but I have known people who have. And those kind of groups have allowed me to be a good friend and a good support system without enabling their habit. And that's something that's real important. So we talked about making a list of what's important to you, your values. So let's pick one. Um, let's say that you want to get out and meet new golf buddies, and you want to golf with strangers instead of the same group. You can probably go to Meetup. You can call your local golf courses. I'm not a golfer, so I don't know exactly how all that goes, but I do know our neighborhood has a amazing PGA golf course, and I believe it's open to the public. It's a city golf course, and you can go there, take golf lessons, meet with folks. Um, maybe you want to play golf with a different group, so you get into a new foursome or a new group. Terminology is not my thing for golf. I've seen the game. I don't know much about it, and I know most of the golf courses out here. They have other activities that they do. They've got restaurants and they've got usually got meeting rooms and event areas where you can have gatherings at the golf course and then maybe meet up with people you haven't met before. I know ours used to do. They had weekly or monthly kind of like networking meetings for businesses, and so you could go and meet other business people. And I don't talk golf, but I can talk business, and just because someone plays golf doesn't mean I can't do business with them because I don't play golf. In fact, in my leads group at the chamber, we've got a lot of golfers, and I kind of feel left out when they're talking, but that's okay because that's their language, and that's how they collect, and they do golf tournaments and they do all these things together, and you can find a real community in that. Same thing for if people still bowl. I guess now the big thing is pickleball. Um, haven't tried that yet. Um, there are places you can go if philanthropy is your thing, there are places you can go to. One of the things I did after my husband died is I became a read aloud volunteer for the city of Denver. And what that allowed me to do is I would go to a school once a week and I would read books to the kindergarten or the ECE kids, half hour once a week. And because I was struggling with depression after my husband died, that was so amazing. It allowed me to be around people. The kids were amazing. And that that's free. You go pick up the books at the library, they're waiting for me. I take them into the classroom, I read to them, I leave them behind, and I take the week's prior's books back to the library. And they give you a backpack. So, and the kids know when they see the blue backpack that the reader is coming. And I did that with the same school for 4 years. Um, I did step away this last year because I'm working on some other things and the timing wasn't well, but I can't wait to get things back in a groove so I can go back and do it because I miss the littles. And it's just awesome because then you become part of the community of the school. Teachers outside of that classroom recognize you and say hello. They know why you're there. They understand why you're there. And some of the kids, as they get older and they're in the bigger classrooms, they remember you and they come up and say hi. To me, that made my heart feel wonderful. I was like, oh my gosh, I must have made a difference because they remember me. I remember them, but I didn't think they'd remember me. And so that was very uplifting. And I found that to be really fun. So if you're looking for a way to give back that doesn't take a lot of time, check in your community and see if there's something like that, or maybe read at the library on Saturdays, or volunteer to be a library volunteer. They'll train you. You can help shelve the books and return things where they belong and show people where things are and help take care of things. There's always something going on at a library, which to me is amazing. Our library has a really great meeting room and it it's free to use. You just reserve it and tell them what you're going to do. And there's some out, you have to follow, but I mean, you can go in, you can teach a class for free. You can go in and have, book study. If you're doing a book study with your friends or reading with your friends, the library is a great place to do that. I know, we get pretty good weather out here in Denver, even in the winter. So you can go to any coffee shop and sit outside most of the year and drink coffee with your friends and talk about, you know, this book or that book or this chapter or that chapter. And then you're getting around people who you didn't maybe realize you had something in common with, but you do. Maybe you like the same kind of books. Maybe you like the same writers. Maybe you like the same topics. Maybe you like the same genres. And that's another new community for you. That's another new tribe. Um, One of the ones that I thought was fun during the pandemic is um, my roommate Lydia and I, you know, we were on lockdown and then they started kind of letting people back out. And we were trying to get donations for the Navajo reservations down in New Mexico and Arizona. We met some people that were doing that because they got hit pretty hard during the pandemic. And you couldn't get close to people, so we bought we bought inflatable unicorn costumes and we'd go dance in the street and get people to stop by and drop off belongings and then they would bring them to the house. They would drop donations off at the house and we would gather there and we used our garage for probably 18 months to take in donations of supplies and clothing and that kind of stuff. And I think they'd come over. They tried to go down every month in the good weather and every other month in the bad weather. And so they'd come empty out our garage, load it all up, and take it down. So we did that for a while, and then we started doing things like they started doing like drive-through birthday parties, and we were doing those. So put your thinking hat on, come up with a couple ideas, and when we come back, we'll talk some more.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And we're back. Thanks for tuning in today. So excited to have you here. And we're talking about finding your tribe, finding your group. One of the things I want to remind you is that having a group is wonderful, but you also need to understand that you don't have to be your group. You know, if you're not feeling like you're alone and you're not feeling like you need to have a big group of people around you, that's okay. I'm not saying you need to go out and find people to be with. That doesn't work for everyone. And it may not work for you right now. That's totally okay. When you do go out and either find a group, you want to make sure that as you're joining a group and looking into a group, that you are honoring who you are at your core. And so you're not going into just meld in and be part of the group and lose your identity and lose your individuality. That's really important because what makes all of these different groups, and even if it's just a group of 2 or 3, the important part about them is that everybody is different. They have some things that are the same. They have same interest or same value about something, but they're individuals, and you want to bring that individual part of you to where you're going. And one of the ways you can do that is maybe start your own group, right? You can say, I really enjoy bowling. And I don't, there's bowling leagues, but I don't want to have to go at the same time every week, or I can't work my schedule around that. But I just want to talk to people about bowling. My dad was such a bowling fanatic. We grew up watching Bowling for Dollars on Sundays, followed by golf, which is why I know something about golf, but not a lot. And it was weird when we were cleaning out the house, we found Dad's bowling ball, and it had 5 holes. And I was trying to picture having all 5 fingers in the hole of the ball at the same time. And I was like, that doesn't even feel like that would work. And my older brother said, well, no, it's, you pick your spin. And I'm like, oh, really? Because, when you go to the bowling alley, there's three. And I just thought that was interesting. And he did. He had the bag, he had the shoes, he had the bowling ball, and it was a heavy ball. I want to say it was like a 14-pound ball. And but he loved the nuances of bowling. So he would watch and he would learn about the different spins, how to hit a pin so that it would do what you wanted it to do. If you couldn't get, you know, you couldn't get that strike, how do you pick up that spare? How do you get that split? And they didn't have groups back then. So he would watch on TV and then, once a month he'd go bowling with the guys at night. And mom and, the other wives would go and they'd sit and they'd talk. And then I know when I was working as a young girl, as a young wife, we had a bowling league at work, and I was terrible, but it was something fun to do. And so, um, I my arms were not very strong, so I had to have an 8-pound ball, which is almost impossible to get with holes big enough for an adult's fingers. But I finally bought one, and a guy went in and made the holes bigger for me. But that was more about just being around other people. We didn't talk a lot about strategy about bowling. That was being around other people. Um, my friend that I mentioned earlier, Susan, her group that she started is called Radically Awesome Women. And she just wanted to have women that like to do different things and wanted to get together and talk about the different things that they did and support them in hosting different activities. And so she's got folks in that group that some do knitting, crocheting, they make little animals and little things out of yarn. There's a lady that teaches, I want to say, some kind of painting classes. I know Susan teaches classes on how to do the paint pouring, and I've taken some of those classes, and it's amazing. If you go in thinking that you're going to make a specific design, that's really not how paint pouring works. But she taught me the nuances of, okay, how do you want the colors to look? How you put them in? Do you put them in a cup together and stack them so when you pour it out, it spreads out? How you tip your canvas to make it go this way and that way and draw things and it'll change colors. They have little blow torches and little blow dryers that can help move the paint around and do other things. And then, you let it sit, you let it dry, you seal it. I mean, all the nuances of it. And I was, struggling. That was very, very helpful. So I'd go to her classes with her and just kind of sit with the other ladies and we'd talk and we'd exchange ideas and people would bring in other projects that they've done. Um, she also does, she makes her own jewelry and it's beautiful jewelry. And so she is in groups, like she goes to the GEM show every year. The GEM, not the gym, the GEM, GEM. And she looks forward to that every year. She can go and pick out the items that she wants to use in her jewelry, and then she knows how to work with silver, different metals, and she creates all these different jewelry designs, and they're beautiful. And she's in groups about that. So there are ways to find where you belong. If you think about, do you have a favorite sports team? A lot of folks will meet at a bar or a restaurant together to watch a game. I mean, certainly you can watch at home pretty much anymore now, but there's sense of community by getting together to cheer on your team. And the important thing to remember about that is you are a fan of the team, you are not of the team. I think it's funny. I grew up in Omaha. I'm a Husker fan, and here in Denver, there are a couple of groups of Husker fans that get together on Husker Saturday at a local bar and they watch the Husker game. And I don't have the Big Ten package on my cable, so I don't watch. I don't get to watch the Huskers play, and so it's kind of neat if I want to see a Husker game. I just know that I can go meet with that group of folks and watch the game and get to talk about all things Husker. And that was a huge thing growing up. I mean, it was kind of funny. Living in Omaha back in the 70s and 80s, the games would be on the radio. And so every store, every restaurant, every building you walked in had the game playing on the radio, on the audio. And then, as the Best Buys and stuff started coming around and the TV places, when the game was on TV, they were on the TVs in all of, you walked into Walmart and the Walmart section had the TVs onto the Husker game. And when we moved from there to Cheyenne, I thought they would do that with the Wyoming games. And it was really weird to walk around on a Saturday and not hear the football game. It's like, aren't they watching the game? Aren't they listening to the game? Well, they were, but they just didn't have it in every single location. And then we came down to Colorado, and the same thing. I just expected that it would be everywhere, and it really wasn't. And our joke was always, well, that's that's all that's all us Nebraskans knew how to do was watch the football games. But if you're a Buckeye fan, if you're a Wolverine fan, if you're your college team fan, or if you're a pro fan, here we're the Broncos. Um, there's a huge community around that. And it's funny because then I hear people like, well, we won. Well, were you on the field? They won. We get to enjoy it because we support them. We're their fans, but we're not the players. So when there's strife and disconnect within the community itself, you need to remember that you are part of the community. You are not the community. So you need to have that consciousness of separation, consciousness that I feel I belong here. This is wonderful, but you don't have to be the whole being of that group. You don't have to live, breathe, and die for that group. It's important to find the values that are important to you and to honor those values and not get lost in all of the other things that might come along with that value. We go all out for Halloween, favorite holiday. So we like to decorate the yard. And now that most of the neighbor kids are a little bit older, we like to go really spooky. We've got the fog machine, we've got the skeleton crawling out of the grave, we've got the ghosts hanging in the trees, the spider webs, all that kind of stuff. And it's fun. And then we put like little kitty ghosts and things out in the yard so that the little kids aren't scared. But want to be able to give the candy, have the kids come by. And for me, it's not about do I have the best decorations? I just want people to have fun. And I want the parents that come with their kids to enjoy it as well. So we look for ways to do that. And that's what you need to be doing with whatever the groups you're in. So don't go away. We'll wind up in when we come back.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back. I hope you're getting value from the program. If so, please share it with your friends and neighbors and spread the word. We're free. So love to have you all on here. We've been talking about finding your tribe, finding your group. And again, the most important thing about being with a group, part of a group, is making sure that you also are honoring your uniqueness, your individuality. And sometimes when we're part of a really large group, we kind of feel that we get lost in that. And depending on what you're doing, that's okay for a time. But we don't want to change our identity to be the identity of a group. We can be part of the group's identity, just don't make that identity your identity. Don't make anyone else's identity your identity. You need to be true to you, who you are or who you are becoming, and honor that part of yourself, that individual, because that's really why you may be joining a group or looking for a group or looking for people with similar interests and ideas, because you want to feed that part of your individuality. As an example, I am part of a global group, and I'm part of them for 5 years. They're amazing. Do I have the exact same values and dreams and aspirations as everyone in that group? No. There is 29,000 people in that group. I am not going to be the exact same as them. Our basic overall reason for being in the group is similar. But I am not defined as a person by being in that group. What I do is I bring my personality, my gifts, my talents to that group to share. And I also get to learn from other members, from their gifts, their talents, their personalities. So it's a collective, it's a it's a hodgepodge. It's a melting pot. And it's very important that we have that. If everyone in the world was exactly like me, it would be so boring. Not because I'm boring, but because sameness is boring. It's turns into a rut. And I know even people who are adverse to change, at some point look for change. Maybe not big change, but they do look for change. We need to keep that part of us alive. We need to keep that growth part of us alive. We need to keep that stretch part of us alive. Um, I'm in my mid 60s and I've had people say, well, what are you going to do when you retire? I don't plan on retiring. And so one of the things I'm looking for right now is that active group of people in my age group that are still interested in doing things and not just sitting at home putting their feet up. And I get it. People work long hours for long years and you want to be able to relax, but don't just do nothing. You can do that for a little while, but when we stop growing, we stop expanding, we stop learning, then we start to die. Our brain starts to die. And human beings are living longer lives, but we're not necessarily living more fulfilled and active lives. So we want to look at that. You know, you want to kind of keep dementia and Alzheimer's at bay. And one of the ways to do that is to keep your mind very active. So, it's fun. We watch HGTV at night. We get great ideas for the house. We watch the Food Network. We get great ideas for yummy food. But we don't live and die for the shows on HGTV. We give ourselves a couple of shows a night, and the rest of the time we are doing and working on things that bring our business forward, bring our minds forward, bring ourselves forward, bring our hearts forward. Um, Lydia is one of the most giving people I know, and she's constantly involved in events and organizations where she can give to help other people. And she's my age and she looks way younger, much younger. It's kept her alive, it's kept her going, it's kept her not just young at heart, but young at spirit. And I don't think we'll ever have to worry about her falling into dementia because she keeps herself and her mind active and moving forward, and she finds the most fun things to do. Awesomeness. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Um, I hope you get some value out of what we talked about. If you have any questions on how to, or need ideas on how to help find your tribe, you can email me at linda@lovinglifesjourney.com. And I'll see if I can give you a hand with that. So don't forget to tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat station. And in the meantime, love your life along the journey. We'll see you next week.
This has been Loving Life's Journey with your host, Linda Wilson. From the laughter of children to the wisdom of elders, from the thrill of new adventures to the comfort of cherished traditions, Loving Life's Journey is your invitation to revel in the beauty of everyday miracles and the love that surrounds us all. So tune in, be inspired, and remember to cherish every step of this incredible journey called life, here on Loving Life's Journey.